Go on. Go on. Hello. Welcome to Sideways. After a lengthy hiatus, which, by the way, is one of my favourite words, we're back. I'd like to tell you that we've got lots of news for you and all sorts of changes, but I'm sure you'll know by now that's not really how we roll. Instead, we're back to our usual inane chatter, and this week we're focusing our attention on changing your mind. In addition, if you're someone who routinely leaves stuff outside your house for people to take away, Martin has a cautionary tale. And there's uproar in China when the pandas at the zoo aren't what they first appear. We see things differently on a question of petty theft. And after a very shaky start to our new quiz, I managed to save face at the last minute. It's good to be back, and we're very grateful for your patience and your continued listening to old episodes through the fallow period. Changing your mind. Come on, girls. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you've got your background blurred.
I have, yeah.
As if you're on a work call.
But I just, I'm on a different computer. I've had to, my old computer, unfortunately, it didn't support, I was still using Windows 8, so it didn't.
What year is that from?
It didn't support Zoom. The latest Zoom update stopped me using it, so I've had to get a new one.
I thought you were probably having tech problems because you were a few minutes late.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I had to make sure the microphone was working and all that and get myself sorted out.
I bet you were a bit nervous this morning, weren't you? It's like first day back at school.
It was a bit, actually. I had that feeling. Did you? Were you good?
No, well, I did sort of... I had a few moments where I thought, I'm not sure I can remember how to do this.
Yeah, I had to sort of get myself up and ready because I was having a bit of a lay-in like I had been doing on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's not good for you, you know. It's much better just to get up at the same time every day.
It is, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I was out late last night. I didn't get home till 1.
I know, you were in the pub, weren't you?
I was in the pub, which is unusual, really.
You've gone to see a rock combo, haven't you?
Yeah, I did go watch a band. So
the Duke of Edinburgh, I believe.
It was the Duke of Edinburgh, which was quite coincidentally where we had the wake for my alcoholic uncle's funeral.
Really?
Yeah. So it was, he used to live just up the road from there. So it's sort of fitting in some ways.
It's just something. There's something that feels slightly wrong about having a wake in a pub for an alcoholic.
Yeah, well, it does, but it was where he felt most comfortable, as the vicar put it. So, yeah, the surroundings in which he was comfortable. He died in a pub, and so we thought having a wake in a pub completed the circle.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I can understand that. We've also got vaguely similar coloured T-shirts on this morning.
We have.
Yours is a little paler than mine, I think.
Mine's more of a beigey sort of affair, yeah.
Oh, it looks greeny from here.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it, in the picture, but it's not. I'm using the onboard camera. Is it clear enough?
It's clear enough. I'll tell you what is good and sort of making me feel quite comfortable and at home, and that is that our inane chatter hasn't changed, has it?
No, we've slotted straight back into that. We've had a little bit of practice in between episodes, haven't we, over the summer?
Yeah, people have waited months for this, and we're back to our normal, uninspiring selves.
They're talking shite. Yeah, well, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But it is a bit of a welcome back to all our listeners, isn't it, after the summer break?
It is, those of us that are still with us. Thank you for staying with us and listening to the 400-odd episodes in the archive to keep it going.
I'm not sure that's the right number. I was going to check on that, but I
Isn't it?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, how many is it then?
I don't know.
Well, why do you think it's the wrong number then?
Because I think we've done about 4 years and we do about 50 episodes a year. It's about 200 odd.
Oh.
So
where have I got 400 from then?
I don't know. Well, we can do the maths, all right?
Should we do it now?
We do it now. I'm going to do it now. We're just going to put this to bed now. Let me just get my calculator out.
So hang on. I've been I've been misinforming people throughout the summer months, and you didn't put me straight.
No, I didn't put you straight on that. I'll put you straight on my sobriety date because you put me down to 14 years rather than 13.
Yeah.
But I didn't. Let's have a look. I'm going to put this right. So we've done 19.
Better than putting you down as 12, though, wasn't it?
Well, I preferred it that way round. Yeah, I
Yeah.
must say. So we've done 8 full seasons. So that's times 26. So which is 208 plus 10. So yeah, we've got to 208. This is episode number 218.
I'll stop putting that in then in the in my newsletter on Substack, which you can find me on Substack, listeners, if you want. If you don't have enough of me,
Yeah,
in Sideways, then there's more of me available in the written word.
In the written form. Now, your weekly blog is always very informative.
Thank you very much.
And not that people know where Substack is or where to find it, but
Well, I think you're probably wrong about that. I mean, I wouldn't call myself an early adopter exactly.
No.
I was on Substack before it became as popular as it is now, and I think you'll find a lot of people who are interested in the written word do know about Substack.
Okay.
Anyway, if you don't know about Substack, just put substack.com into your web browser and
into Ask Jeeves.
into Ask Jeeves.
And you're under some strange name these days as well, aren't you?
Well, you can find me under my name, but my newsletter is called The Multi-Potentialite.
Yeah.
I can never think of names for things, can you?
Not really. Not you're on the spot. You had time to think of that. I mean, it's quite a long, difficult name to spell.
Yeah, but it is kind of descriptive of what I write about, because a multi-potentialite is someone who's got interest, sort of broad interest in lots of different things. The inference being that they're not necessarily masterful in any of them, which I think is a kind of perfect description of me, really.
Well, I think you're probably playing yourself down a little there, but your humility is endearing.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, no problem at all. Anyway, should we crack on eventually then with this?
Yeah, let's. Although just briefly going back to me giving you an extra year of sobriety.
Yeah,
one could see that as I was trying to be sort of motivational, egg you on to another year.
Well, and I do appreciate that, but what it did brought to my mind is that in the early days of recovery, you're counting every hour and every day, and then every week, and then after a while, when it becomes every month, and then once the years start to pile on, you forget yourself. So it's a good indication, really. Other people forget exactly how long it is as well.
Yeah, that's it. There you go. That's another reframing of it, that
it is
actually, whether it's 12, 13 or 14 years, it's quite a long time, isn't it?
That's all that I need to know, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. But what I wanted to talk to you about this week was changing your mind.
Oh.
Okay. Now, initially, our break in the summer went on a little bit longer than we anticipated. But
because you couldn't be bothered to start up again.
I changed my mind about the start date, so it fitted in nicely. I thought that's a good one to start off with.
Yeah, and then you changed it. And then we had a kind of conversation about frequency, and you changed your mind on that.
I did, yeah.
Well, there's still time to change it back if you want to.
Absolutely. We'll see how we go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I even changed my mind on the title of this episode, because I did initially. I put it down as why we change your mind, but I've just changed it to changing your mind, because it broadened it out a little bit.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Bucks Fizz song, Making Your Mind Up.
Well, I'll tell you what it reminded me of when we kept changing my mind, was that on the Fast show, there was a character where there was a guy in the pub, and he would constantly change his mind depending on what his peers said.
Correct.
And we'll sort of touch on that later on. But I mean, during the summer also, since we've last did a podcast. Actually, no, I think I had changed. I'll change my job.
Yeah. No, I don't think you. Well, you had. I don't think we spoke about it.
You didn't speak about it. It was early days on that. I mean, I now work.
I mean, you could have got fired, couldn't you? Early doors.
I could have done. But I work full time in a rehab centre.
Best place for you.
I think it is, but I won't name them in case my opinion doesn't correlate with theirs. It probably does, because I run a lot of the groups. So, But
It doesn't necessarily matter if your opinion does not correlate with theirs, does it? I mean, I'm sure my opinion as a therapist doesn't correlate with a lot of other therapists.
probably not. No, but I just didn't want to name them in case that I was seen as representing them on this.
Yeah,
platform.
quite right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, let's face it, no organisation will want you representing
No,
them.
well, I beg to differ, but we'll leave that parked right there. But so it's been a lot of changes. But before we start,
Yeah.
you know, I like to have a little bit of a before we start, and there's a couple of little stories came up which sort of made me chuckle a little bit. I mean, the first one was about a woman which she was fined for fly tipping. Right, she got a £500 fine.
Quite right.
What she'd done, she'd left a cabinet outside her house for other people to pick up and take away.
Oh.
Which a lot of people do that, don't they? Leave stuff outside. But I think it'd been left on the pavement. If it had been left on her grass, on her property, it'd have been right. But it was on the pavement. And it was an IKEA cabinet. So that was probably why the fine. I bet she had arrows around it showing you which way to look at it, where to go to pick it up. That's where the fine came in.
So hang on. So she was fined just for leaving something outside her house.
Yeah.
Which is something, as you say, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I'm sure not everybody gets flipping fined for fly tipping doing that, do they?
No, I suspect it was an overzealous warden.
I did it myself recently. I left some ladders outside.
Did you?
Yeah, I hope they'd be picked up. And it was sort of 2 weeks went by and they didn't get collected. I was feeling a bit miffed about that. I thought, well, what's wrong with my ladders? So in the end, I put them on Facebook Marketplace and they went within 2 hours.
Did they?
Yeah, just for free, you know, come and get them. And a bloke came and got them, and later on he sent me a message saying, "Great, they were just what I needed to clear out my gutters." And he sent me a picture of the ladders up against his house.
Oh, that worked out well. That made you feel quite good about it, then, didn't it?
I did. I felt as if I'd contributed to some degree to my local community.
Yeah. And good on you. I mean, it's, the local community, I'll tell you, with the local community that were visiting a zoo in China, they weren't happy. Shall I tell you why?
Go on.
Well, they demanded their money back after it turned out that the pandas were in fact painted dogs. Now, my first thought was, I thought China had enough pandas not to have to paint up dogs.
Well, I know. I mean, I know they're threatened. They're a kind of threatened species, aren't they? They're under threat of extinction, aren't they?
Yeah, they just don't reproduce properly, do they? You can give them all the encouragement, and they just don't.
Is that because they choose not to have sex, or they're not very good at getting pregnant?
They don't copulate. I don't think. I don't. No, they don't. I expect one looks at the other and says he's got dark eyes, or she's got. Looks a bit like Robert Smith in The Cure. I'm not getting involved in that. Thank you.
They look at each other and they say, "You just look like a painted dog."
Yeah. Well, apparently they started barking and gave the game away. But it did make me chuckle a little bit. So I thought I'll pop that in.
Anyway, just can I hold that thought right there, because I've got to get the bread out of the oven.
I want to just have a sip of my coffee then. In that case,
okay, hang on, won't be a sec. It's all very well you having a sip of your coffee. I made mine too early, and I finished it about 15 minutes before we started.
Yeah. Well, I need to have one on the go whilst I'm doing this. But talking of bread, that bread that you gave me a loaf of the other day, which had chocolate in it and nuts and stuff.
Chocolate, almonds and cranberry it was.
Yeah, bloody lovely, mate. Yeah, I'll have
How did you utilise it?
Well, I've had some, mainly with some strawberry
jam
on it.
Oh, concern.
Yeah.
That's good. That sounds good.
Which was nice. Then after 2 or 3 days, there was a bit left, so I toasted it and put the same conserve on it, and it was actually lovely. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Very much so. So when there's another one available, I'll be more than a happy recipient.
Yeah, I don't use a chocolate starter that often. Really, it's more of a sort of, you know, if the fancy takes me. Yeah, my daughter actually requested that particular loaf, so that's why I made some.
Right. So you were going to do a different loaf, but you changed your mind, didn't you? It was changed by your daughter.
I can see what you've done there. Well done.
Yeah. Well, what I've got on the subject matter, I've just got this. I looked when I was researching this. I looked it up about changing your mind, and there was 7 frequently asked questions came up about changing your mind. So I thought I'd just run those by you
All right.
and see what you think. I've got some answers for them for them as well, but
All right.
your input would be great. So the first question was, why do people change their minds so often?
Good. Yeah, I like this one because I was thinking about this.
Because
So,
go on, what do you think on that?
well, it'd be interesting to see what came up in your research. But I
Yeah,
think I came up with kind of two broad areas or two broad thoughts. The first one was sometimes we change our mind in the light of new information,
yeah,
right? And so if I get new information and I change my mind, that always feels to me as if that's quite a healthy thing.
I'd
It
say.
means I feel confident enough in myself and broad-minded enough to receive new information. And even if I was absolutely wedded to my previous belief, I've got the flexibility to change it. That feels like it's quite good.
I'd
The
agree. Go on.
Okay. The second thing is, I think people can change their minds when they have a lot of self-doubt, where they don't really necessarily trust their own judgment. So that feels like a much less positive thing. You say you make a decision, you think, oh, don't know if I'm right about that, or maybe I shouldn't do that, or whatever it might be. So I think that's the second thing. And then the third thing I thought about was that people change their mind as a way of avoiding emotional pain.
Yeah, I mean, your answers are pretty much correlate directly with the research that I did.
Are they?
Yeah,
Blimey.
they do.
I didn't write the whatever you were reading in your research, did I?
Well, I'm wondering if you've plagiarized this or you've looked it up yourself. But
Oh, that's a slur. I take that. That's a disgraceful thing to say.
it is, and I take that back because is unnecessary, wasn't it?
I mean, the suggestion that I would do some research for this
Yeah,
is
that's true.
absolutely scandalous.
That's the bit that hurts you most, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah. I don't want people to think I'm prepared. It's a disgrace.
Well, what the answer was on my research, which you
Yeah.
there are several reasons why people change their minds frequently.
Yeah.
These can include a lack of confidence in their initial decision,
Yeah.
new information or perspectives that come to light,
Yeah.
or a desire for personal growth and development. So that's
Okay.
some spin on what you said about having a lack of confidence in that.
Right. So there's
So
nothing. There isn't anything in there specifically about changing your mind to avoid pain, though, is there?
There isn't. I was thinking perhaps the personal growth and development was the antithesis of avoiding pain. Perhaps I'm wrong.
Well, I was thinking about destructive ways of avoiding pain.
Yeah, you were.
Because
Yeah.
when I was thinking about changing our minds to avoid pain, the three examples I came up with, well, actually, there were two what I felt to be quite good ones. And the first one is going back into a relationship that didn't work for you because you can't stand the loneliness of being on your own.
Yeah.
And people do that all the time. It's like
Absolutely.
they split up with their partner, and then after a couple of weeks, they think, oh, I don't like this anymore. And they go back hoping it's going to be different, even though nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, second one would be addiction.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that comes up all the time, which is why it's a relevant topic to look at here, because we get people changing their mind about coming into the rehab in the first place.
Yeah, and changing their mind about being there and staying there.
Yeah, and change their mind about perhaps I'm not an addict after all. I've done a couple of days now. I'm off. So they change their mind about the severity of their condition. But yeah, it's changing all the time, and it changes throughout the period of being in the rehab.
Yeah, I mean, being in rehab must be an emotional roller coaster in any case. So I would think that the kind of propensity for people to change their mind must be quite significant.
There's many opportunities to do so. Bless you.
Oh, do you think autumn hay fever is a thing? I always feel like I've got allergies at this time of year, and it's a flipping nuisance.
Yeah, there may be something in that. I'm not a medical person, but
well, could you find out for me?
well, I'll Google it in a minute. But
Thanks very much.
We're coming to that time of year that I really don't like now, where it starts to get dark and dull and autumnal. And I know you embrace it.
I absolutely love it. This is probably my favorite. Well, one of my favourite times of year, along with the other 3 seasons.
It's in your top 4, isn't it?
It's definitely one of my top 4 seasons. Yeah.
Anyway,
Frankie Valli was one of my top 4 seasons.
The second question was, how can I become more decisive?
Okay.
I'll read. Did you want to answer that one?
No, go on. I need a bit of time to think about that one. Go on.
Yeah, the answer that was in the research is thus: becoming more decisive requires practice and self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
It can be helpful to identify your values and priorities, consider the potential consequences of your decision, and trust your intuition. Seeking advice from trusted individuals can also provide valuable insights.
Yeah.
So
I like all that. There's one thing that springs to my mind, though. I don't disagree with any of that. All sounds sensible. But I think one of the things that sometimes stops us making decisions is our fear of messing up, fear of making a mistake, right?
Yeah.
And so we either avoid the decision or we play safe or whatever.
Yeah.
And in the same way as we behave when we're feeling anxious, we focus too much on the peril of making a mistake and not enough on our ability to overcome that situation, even if we do make a mistake.
Yeah.
I think if you felt there was less jeopardy in making a decision, you'd make them more easily, wouldn't you? It's like, I'm going to do this. Oh, I hope it doesn't go wrong. And you become so kind of fixated on the worry about it going wrong that you don't make the decision or you do something else. But if you just say to yourself, well, if it does go wrong, I'll just find a way through it. And, you know, we're much more resilient and capable than we think we are.
I think you're right, but it is that fear, isn't it? That you're going to get it wrong. So making no decision at all is better in your own mind. You're just kicking the can down the road, obviously, but it's part of our desire for procrastination sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was one where it talks about, in that bit I just read out, about trusting your intuition. I mean, a lot of people say, I've just had a gut feeling about things, and it always worries me. It always worries me if they just use gut feeling rather than evidence, or any other evidence. But it comes up so often. I think sometimes people use that perhaps in retrospect, and they say, "Oh, yeah, I had a gut feeling that was going to happen," almost validating it. But yeah, it slightly worries me. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I'll tell you what I think about it. And I'm sorry, I'm being slightly put off by a small child outside who's had the selfishness to fall over and start crying.
Whilst
putting me off.
Whilst you're recording, yeah, they should have put the mattress up quiet, please, outside your front gate.
It's all right, though, because they're going to have a look at the yarn bombing now. So that's cheered her up a little bit. Anyway, this is what I think about gut feeling. I think your gut feel is very helpful if used in conjunction with your other 2 senses. So what is your head saying about this situation? What is your heart saying about it? And what does your gut say? Right. And I think when you're going through a kind of process of decision making, I mean, not for everything, not necessarily what do I want for breakfast? You know, that's probably slightly overkill. But if you feel as if you're trying to wrestle with something that's quite tricky, I think it is worth tapping into each of those 3, head, heart, gut. Right, what do I feel in my gut? What is my heart telling me I want here? And what does my head tell me is most sensible? So if you kind of think back to those examples that we were talking about, whether it be relationships or something like addiction, those 3 parts of you are quite important. You know, what logically, rationally is the best thing for me here? What do I feel in my heart? And what is my gut feel about this situation? I think those, you know, as I say, employing those 3 can be really helpful in finding a way through in those situations.
So would you say gut feeling is the sum total of head plus heart?
How would I describe it? You know, if I think about, if I'm making a decision, I know logically quite often what the right thing to do is. And quite often my head is in conflict with my heart. You know, my heart is more idealistic, if you like. It wants this and it imagines this to be the outcome. And then I suppose that is right in a way. Your gut is perhaps a kind of a blend of the 2. Yeah. I hadn't really thought about it like that, but yeah, I suppose that's a reasonable way of looking at it. Yeah.
It's like a mathematical equation: head plus heart equals gut.
Equals gut.
Yeah, the gut is the answer you go with.
There we are. You could probably write a book on that and Sell a few copies on Amazon.
Off you go. You can start.
Head plus heart equals gut. I might write that.
It's got a nice equation. It's something we've come up with on the hoof here, isn't it?
Yeah, which is unusual for us, isn't it?
It is really, for anything slightly insightful.
Yeah, I expect it's been done. I mean, if we've come up with it, it can't be an original idea, can it?
No, so probably plagiarised it subconsciously from somewhere.
I expect so.
Anyway, the next question was, is changing my mind a sign of weakness?
No,
No, good.
of course not. Depends. I mean, it can be.
Yeah.
But
no is a complete sentence, we've always said, haven't we? Should we just move on? Just leave it hanging?
yeah, I mean, it's. I think the question is totally context dependent.
Yeah.
But you certainly couldn't say changing your mind is a sign of weakness. No, sometimes changing your mind is a show of great strength.
Yeah, what it says here, it says no. So that is the first sentence. Changing your mind is not always a sign of weakness. It can indicate open-mindedness, adaptability, and a willingness to reconsider your beliefs and perspectives.
Yeah.
It's important to embrace change and view it as an opportunity for growth.
Quite right.
I think perhaps we become quite irritated by other people when they change their mind too often, or do it all the time, or do it right at the last moment. That's the one that really hurts, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose if you're experiencing that, if you're around people who change their minds constantly or change their minds at the last minute, then you're kind of being affected by someone else's potentially destructive indecisiveness, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that there's a problem with you, but you might experience the negative impact of there being some sort of an issue with someone else.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on to the next question because I think it sort of dovetails in. How can I deal with the uncertainty and inner conflict that comes with changing my mind? The answer to that was dealing with uncertainty and inner conflict requires self-awareness and self-compassion. Take the time to understand your fears and concerns, seek different perspectives, and weigh the potential risks and rewards for your decisions. Be kind to yourself throughout the process. But going back to what you were saying about what you're going to have for breakfast, it just depends upon what you. That's quite a long, convoluted way to get to the answer. But you wouldn't want to do that all the time. You'd become indecisive and keep changing your mind yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the answer to that one is really more akin to what I was saying about don't stress so much about getting everything right, because even when you get it wrong, you'll still be all right. You know, that as you were saying at the start of the answer there, you know, our kind of anxiety about changing our minds is about a desire for certainty.
Yeah.
But there isn't any.
No. You can have nothing's 100% certain, is it?
No, literally nothing. I mean, nothing. So when we kind of kid ourselves that if we get this right or we, you know, make this decision, we will create some certainty, then we're just kidding ourselves. Much better if you know, the greater the extent to which you can accept that there isn't any certainty, the happier and more peaceful your life's going to be.
Oh, I'd agree. But when it comes to, you mentioned relationships earlier on, and the next question was, can changing my mind too often affect my relationships? And it goes on to say,
yes.
Changing your mind frequently can sometimes cause frustration or confusion in relationships. It's important to communicate openly and honestly with others, explaining your thought process and the reasons behind your decision changes. Building trust and maintaining respectful communication can help mitigate any potential negative effects. It's quite straightforward, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it is. It does depend on what the situation is. I mean, if you're someone who tends to change your mind often about whether you want tea or coffee, then, you know, if that irritates your partner, then your partner wants to let it go and, you know, stop worrying about it. But if you're constantly changing your mind about bigger things that are having a significant impact on another person, then, yeah, of course that's going to cause irritation. It's bound to, isn't it?
It is. And it's, when I was doing the notes for this, I came up with another episode idea whilst on that, just on that section. And the
Did you?
I was going to do one on when people let you down.
Oh.
So when, you know, how that affects you, how you deal with it and that sort of thing. So
Yeah,
I think there's an episode in there, don't you?
definitely. Yeah.
The
I
last
probably won't turn up for that one.
deliberately. The last question was, how can I make more consistent decisions? The
Why do you
answer,
need? Why do you need to?
I don't know. I wasn't quite sure about this, but the answer for that particular question was making more consistent decisions involves developing self-awareness, understanding your values and priorities, and considering the long-term implications of your choices. It can also be helpful to set clear goals and stick to them whilst remaining open to new information and perspectives.
Yeah,
I thought it was a bit woolly.
I'm questioning the necessity to make consistent decisions. I mean, what's so great about consistency? I think where consistency is important, kind of relating to the last question, is if your decisions are impacting other people a lot, then I think consistency is quite helpful. So consider a leadership position in an organisation.
Yeah.
I think consistency in your decisions there is very important, because then people feel safe. They feel as if it's easier to respect you. Whereas if you're all over the place and other people are relying on you, that's not great. So I think in that situation, consistency is very important. But I think in terms of making decisions that aren't really affecting other people, so what if you change your mind all the time and you make inconsistent decisions? I don't think that matters.
I don't either. It was but that was the last question. They were probably running out of things to say in the
Yeah, they wanted 7 for some reason.
Yeah, lucky 7, isn't it? Like, it's lucky in China, isn't it? Except
Is it?
Except unless you have 7 dogs in the zoo that are painted up.
I'll tell you the other thing that I always think about with decision making, changing your mind, which is the same thing, isn't it? Changing your mind, because we were talking there about, if you're in a sort of position where other people are relying on you, it's worth remembering that decision making tends to be made, your ability to make decisions tend to be made weaker by the greater the degree to which you're collaborative. So you've got to be a bit careful not to try and please everybody else. And that has a big impact in terms of changing your mind. If you're changing your mind constantly because you don't want to upset someone, then that's not great.
No, absolutely. No, it is contextual. You're right. So that was about it, really. I thought it was quite a neat way of dealing with that particular subject.
Yeah.
It goes on, really. Next thing was, we discussed about maintaining the conundrum feature, which I quite liked getting involved in. So I'm assuming you've got some more.
I have got one. I've got one, and it's kind of a double header, this one.
Okay.
So I realised when I was looking through my list that I'd written 2 conundrums that really were kind of the same thing. So I'm going to give you both of them, and I'll be interested in your perspective.
Okay.
So the first one is one that I suppose that we would all be familiar with, particularly if we've spent any time working in an office. And I'm not even convinced we haven't had this one before, but anyway. Is it ever okay to take bits of stationery from the office? Right? Pencils, pads, a ream of photocopier paper. That sort of. I'm not talking about chairs and desks.
You're talking about taking them home, I'm assuming.
Correct. Yeah, for personal use.
Okay.
So when I saw that one, I realised that another question, which is slightly more niche, was the same thing really, which is it ever okay if a football is kicked into your garden from an organised game to keep that football and not give it back?
Okay. I'm not sure if they're connected.
I think they are, and I'll tell you, when I've heard your perspective, I'll tell you why I think they're connected.
Okay. So is it okay to take stationery home? I'd say no.
Does that mean you've never done it?
No, it doesn't mean that. what I normally do, I would ask first.
Would you? Crikey, when I worked in an office, I really would not have thought twice about thinking, well, I need some paper. I'll take some paper home. I just wouldn't have done.
No, I wouldn't do that. No. No.
Really?
Yeah, I'd always ask. I mean, it's potentially a sacking offence, isn't it? If you're getting
Yeah,
thieving
but I mean, by
company
that stage, I
property.
was probably in charge.
Well,
So,
yeah, again, it depends upon your position within the company. I suppose if you own the company, fair play, you do what you like.
yeah, I mean, I don't worry about taking stationery home now.
No,
You know,
nick it from yourself. It's all
I can
right.
move it from one room to another,
Yeah,
with absolute impunity.
yeah, but no, I wouldn't. Certainly where I work now, I wouldn't do that. No.
No, I wasn't trying to. I wasn't trying to put you on the spot in your current role. I was just thinking, back when we were sort of young and foolish,
Yeah,
working in the corporate world, I think most people just feel like that's a kind of fair. I mean, I'm not saying it's right. I don't think it is. And it's one of the reasons why I put it in there, because I think actually that sort of petty theft is pretty terrible, really, isn't it?
it is. But yeah, and it sort of reminds me of that episode of the UK version of The Office
Right.
when David Brent calls Dawn in and he's doing a pretend
Oh,
sacking on her, and he said he's going to sack her for nicking post-it notes. Right?
yeah, that's one of the most awkward pieces of television I think I've ever seen.
It really is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was just looking around actually to see if there's anything on my desk that, I've had for years that originally I took from an office. But funnily enough, I can't see anything. So, I mean, I've got some pens, but I think they were given to me. So, anyway, so
no, I'd say no.
right. What about the football question then?
Is it okay to keep a football? No. No, it isn't. You're right, especially if it's an organised game. It used to happen back in my primary school days at Eastborough, because we were right next to a row of gardens, and the football was always going over there when we were playing against other schools. And there would always be people out in their gardens and just throw it back. And so no, you can't keeping it would be. It'd be awful. I mean, upsetting all those people out there. And back in those days, there wasn't a constant stream of footballs coming onto the pitch. If one went missing, we had one football, and that was it.
Well, I can tell you when the kids were small, our house backed onto the civil service field.
Yes.
Where we used to play football up there, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Headers and volleys and throwing in and all that caper.
Yeah.
And Sunday mornings, there used to be all manner of effing and blinding up there with the men's football. And these footballs constantly come careering into our garden, smashing into the plants. I never gave any of them back. I thought, no, sod you.
Well,
and so we ended up with a big sort of basket full of, quite high quality footballs. It was excellent. It was, I saw it as reasonable exchange for having to listen to their profanity all Sunday morning when I had small children. Just made me angry.
Well, you validated your theft in your own mind there, but I think that was it's nasty not to. I've played men's football on that particular field.
Well, so I probably had a ball from that you kicked over there.
I would never have been that wide of the mark because. I
was going to say that was the other thought that I had.
Yeah.
If you can't shoot straight enough, that you've got to kick a ball, miles over into other people's gardens, then we shouldn't be surprised if you don't get your ball back.
Yeah, perhaps you shouldn't be on the pitch in the first place.
Quite right. Anyway, the reason I saw them as similar was because they felt as if they're both kind of organisational theft.
Oh, I see. Tenuous link. But,
if there were some kids playing football up the park and they kicked the ball into my garden, then of course I'd give it back. And but I felt there was something. Yeah. Anyway,
you connected them, and that's fine. I'm happy to run with them.
I did connect them, and I'm outing myself here for my past thieving.
Yeah, you are. And if I see anyone that I know that used to play for the Civil Service Football Club, I'll tell them about your.
Yeah, I do. I mean, if they want their ball back, I've probably got it somewhere in the garage.
Probably all rotten by now, isn't it? Hanging.
Might have some teeth marks from dogs in it, but knock yourself out.
Okay. Good. Well, we dealt with that. I've kept the gratitude list. I still think that's important.
Lovely.
What have you put on your gratitude list for this week?
Okay, this week I've got. I feel grateful that I'm able to record Sideways again this morning.
Excellent, and that is nice. It's like an old friend coming back in many ways, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, well, why specifically am I grateful for that? And I suppose one reason, when we get to our age, I'm quite grateful still to be alive. That's quite nice, isn't it?
True. That could be on the list every week.
Yeah. And it's also, it's nice to be sitting down having a chat with you again. I mean, it's indicative that it's a relationship I've messed up. So,
Yeah. Oh, God.
so that's something to be grateful for as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah, small mercies.
Yeah.
It is right, because I think our dialogue, we haven't had this much chat during the summer No,
that's right. You've been quite busy, haven't you, with work and stuff and seeing your children and stuff. I mean, quite selfish, really, but
very selfish.
That's up to you.
It is, but we did an episode on taking a break on one time, and I was just embracing the quality advice we gave out at that time. So how do you like them apples?
It's been quite good seeing you, slightly stressed by work,
Well, I hadn't had that for a long time.
No.
And I'm coping with it again now. It's all right. I'm all right. But
well, there you go. Which comes back to what we were talking about earlier. We find a new level, don't we? Find our ability to deal with whatever is thrown at us.
We do, and it feeds into on my gratitude list. I put down being in the right place at the right time, because this job came up at exactly the right time for me. And I was in the right place internally because I joined just at the time where there's an expansion going on, and I managed to get a promotion within a very few weeks of being there. So it all worked out right. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah, well, it's that. Yeah, so I can understand you being grateful for that, but of course, it's not just being in the right place at the right time, is it? It's also, there's something there about self-determining your success.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's just that I've spent many years honing my skills on addiction, so this is now I'm getting paid for it. So I'm all right with that.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so the last thing I've changed this around a little bit because we used to do what year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Now what I'm going to do this time, I've got 3 years that I'm going to give you.
Yeah.
No, it's quite tricky to begin with, so I'll probably have to give you some help initially on this.
Oh, that's it. Crikey.
Okay, all right. If you're going to be all hoity-toity about it, I'm going to give you a year, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to tell me what was the best-selling single in that year.
Oh my God, that's going to be impossible. I need some help with that.
You just shunned my help, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
And also in that year, who won the FA Cup in that year?
Oh my Lord! Okay, this is going to be really tough.
It is tough. I started with a tough one because I've gone for quite an early one. This one, but
okay.
I'll give you the artist at the moment. But the first year is 1959. All right.
I wasn't even born.
Nor was I, but I thought it made it quite an interesting start.
All right. So, what clue are you going to give me for the?
So what I'm going to do, I can give you 5 points, right, for each if you get the artist right. But that's a wild stab in the dark thing, and then 5 points for the track. 5 points for who won the FA Cup, and another 5 points if you can tell me who they beat.
Oh my Lord! Right. Okay. So I might as well have a guess then, mightn't I?
Absolutely. So
the artist, 1959. Okay. The artist. I'm going to go with Bill Haley and the Comets.
No, it's Cliff Richard.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So Cliff Richard, was it Summer Holiday?
No,
it can't have been. That's too early.
Living Doll, it was.
Living Doll. Okay, so I got no points there then.
No points on that.
Well, this is feeling familiar.
It is for the FA Cup final. I wouldn't have remembered this one. I must admit, I didn't.
Oh, I've got absolutely no idea 50s football, so I'm going to go Blackpool.
No, Nottingham Forest.
They beat Manchester City.
They beat Luton 2-1. So no points so far, but that was quite a tough start, I've got to say. The next thing, so I went 1959. The next one's 1969, okay?
Yeah.
What do you reckon the best-selling single in 1969 was?
1969, was it the Beatles?
It wasn't, no. It was the Archies.
Oh, I've never even heard of the Archies.
Oh.
Are you sure it wasn't the Archers on Radio 4?
Not the Archies, the Archies.
No, I don't know. I've got no idea.
Didn't you? Sugar, Sugar.
Oh, what? Sugar. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Oh, honey. I didn't know that was the Archies. We've got that, I think. I think I've got that on a single somewhere.
They weren't even real. They were a cartoon group, weren't they? They were forerunner of the Gorillas, really, weren't they?
I didn't know that.
There are no points there.
Right.
Do you know who? I'd have got this one. 1969. This is the first FA Cup final I sort of I remember as a kid.
I don't remember this.
Too young.
I'm going to go Tottenham.
No, it was Man City. And they beat.
They beat Huddersfield Town.
They beat Leicester 1-0. So I think it was 1969. It was a very young Peter Shilton in goal, if I remember rightly, for Leicester.
Right, can we just have a recap? How many points have I got so far?
You've got none so far, mate. But I think you might get something, because I went 59, 69. I'm doing 1979 now.
Oh, right, okay.
1970. What do you think the best-selling single of 79 would be?
79.
I think once I tell you the artist, you'll probably.
I'm thinking sort of Boomtown Rats, someone like that. Elvis Costello, Blondie.
It was Art Garfunkel.
Oh, was it Bright Eyes?
It was Bright Eyes. There's your points on the board, son. 5.
Superb. I can't remember who won the FA Cup in '79.
Do you want any clues?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a classic. It was
79.
Actually, no, it wasn't a comeback in the end. It was it was a close game. It was high scoring in the second half. Let's put it that way.
It wasn't Sunderland, was it? 79. Arsenal.
It was Arsenal. Yeah, it's 5 points.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it Arsenal Man United?
It was.
Yes.
Actually, I'm going to give you. You should get points for the score as well, shouldn't you?
I think the score was 3-2.
It was 3-2. Yes.
So that was a game of two halves, then, wasn't it?
It was a game of
very,
two
very badly at the start, but I sort of regained a little bit of honour.
You did. So let me just jot down. You've got 5, 10, 15. You've got 15 points plus this for the score. Should we give you? You got the score right. So 20 points.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's good.
That's not bad.
I'm going to have to introduce a little quiz feature for you, I think.
We'll be on it forever, though, mate.
Yeah, I might do a cake or biscuit. And I'll give you the name. You've got to tell me whether it's a cake or a biscuit.
Put me down for 0 points.
Then I was thinking about this when I was in bed the other morning, and I thought I could ask you whether it's a cake or a biscuit, and then I could ask you what country it originates from, and then you'd have to describe something about it, the ingredients or what it tasted.
Well, yeah, that's really unfair, because I'm asking you questions about music and football, which you know. I know nothing about the baking.
Yeah, I could have started with fig roll. You'd have been all right with that. Yeah. All right. Good.
Anyway, you're off the mark. You're out of the relegation zone with 20 points,
which is nice, isn't it? I wonder how our listeners will have got on with that quiz. I reckon some of them would have found it quite tricky.
Yeah, I would have thought so. So I'm just testing the water with this quiz. I can use later years.
That's all right. I quite enjoyed it in the end. If I'd finished up with no points at all, I probably would feel a bit miffed. But as it turns out, I think I'm all right with it. All right.
Okay.
That'll do then, won't it?
It will do. It will do. Yes, that's lovely. We'll wrap it up for this week then.
We'll wrap it up, and I'll see you next time.
Laters.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandy-wellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.